let's learn about the rules for assigning significant figures. So let's say you have a measurement, and let's call it, let's say you are looking at a measurement 4.5 centimeters, okay? So the rules for assigning significant figures, the first rule we're going to look at is every number that is not a zero is significant. So let's write that down here. All non-zero digits are significant. All right. So in 4.5, that's two significant figures. I'm going to call that 2SF, where S stands for significant and F stands for figures. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is let's go ahead and start adding zeros to this number. Okay. And we're going to add zeros in different places. So if I write this number as 4.50, now see that 0 is at the end of the number after the decimal place. So there's a decimal place. Let's make that 4.50 centimeters. It's at the end of the number after the decimal place. So therefore this 0 is actually significant. Okay. So we're going to say zeros at the end of a number and the number has a decimal, that has a decimal is significant. Okay. So now let's take a 0 and put it in front of the number. Okay. So let's make it 04.5 centimeters. Now in this case, since the 0 is the first digit in the number, this 0 is actually not significant. So zeros, I'm getting my spelling of zeros mixed up. It should be Z-E-R-O-E-S. Zeros at the beginning of a number are not significant. Therefore, this number is actually two significant figures, 1, 2. And I forgot to say how many what this number was. That's 1, 2, 3 significant figures. Okay. Now let's try to put the 0 in between the number. 4.05. Now anytime a 0 is squished in between two non-zero digits or more than two non-zero digits, that 0 becomes significant. Okay. So zeros in between non-zero digits are significant. Therefore, this would have 1, 2, 3 significant figures. Now let's, what if we had a number that did not have a decimal place and had a 0, okay? So let's say we have 450 centimeters. As you can see, the 0 at the end of this number is actually called a placeholder 0 because it's just used to denote how big the number is. Because if we had written 45 without a 0, then that would be 10 times smaller than this number. Therefore, the 450, that 0 is simply there to denote how big the number is. So that's a placeholder 0. And placeholder zeros are never significant. Mind you, this is not the same situation as this. In this particular case, that 0 is not a placeholder 0 because there's a decimal in the number. And when there's a decimal in the number, you're actually making a point. So even if I added 3 zeros after this, it still doesn't change the size of the number. For example, if that's 4.5000 centimeters, those two numbers are still identical in size. The difference is in the precision of the measurement. So when you made the measurement, this one has more precision, this one has less precision. Therefore, the number of significant figures out here would be different, but the size of the number wouldn't be, okay? But in this particular case, if you remove that 0, then the size changes. Therefore, that 0 has no other role other than to be a placeholder to denote the size of the number. Nothing to do with significant figures, okay? So in this particular case, that's 1, 2, two significant figures.